So let me just make sure that I'm getting this right. So what you're saying to me is that an entertainer like Vince McMahon wouldn't, for the sake of storyline purposes and for the sake of selling the product, wouldn't, I don't know, blow himself up in a limousine and fake his own death, or, I don't know, have his daughter kidnapped by a satanic, ritualistic, demonistic man, for the sake of television. You're saying that Vince McMahon won't, take it as far as getting arrested on show to the point where people were calling that precinct to where he was taken to, hoping that they could be the ones to bail him out, and then made a T-shirt out of his quote-unquote mugshot. So you're saying that entertainers never take it that far, and they never, ever, 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 ever try to go outlandish to sell their product.
Now tonight's song is very special to me. See, it's one of those ones where I picked up the guitar and the words and the music, it just came to me, It's a bit of magic. But, it is going to require total concentration, and I know we're in the South, but try to keep up. Hold on one second. Hold on. Okay, so normally this lighting is fine, but this crowd tonight in Virginia is particularly disgusting, so... Sir... Okay, I can't look at that. If we could bring the lights in just a little bit. Okay. Okay, that's good. Right on. Okay. You know what? One other thing, actually. Lance, if you could bring the vocals up, okay? Bring the vocals up. I want to hear more of me. I want to hear more Elias, less of them. Yeah. We'll soften the guitar a little bit. Good? Yep. Okay. When I say I love Elias, you say yes I do. That's it. That's right where we want to be. All right, good. Yeah. I mean, I got to do everybody's job around here,
Welcome, everybody, to episode 108 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. 108. It is Thursday, May 31st, 2018, final day of Mental Health Awareness Month. We're going to be talk a little bit about that towards the end of this week's podcast. But welcome to the program, everybody. My name is Josh Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshy. You can follow the Clown Prince himself, the good brother Adam Daly at AdamDaly13. What's good, my bro?
Josh, what's up, brother? Listen, it is hot to death in Pittsburgh, man. It hasn't been below 70 in like 3 days, and I know that. Listen, to most of this country, that's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's hotter. I understand that, but for Pittsburgh, I feel like I'm in a sauna. Like I feel like I'm in Hades. I don't like this. My body feels like I'm in constant boiling. The humidity sucks. And I'm too cheap to have an air conditioner. So I'm just going to sit here and bitch for a minute and then probably go buy an air conditioner because I finally got my taxes back. So that's there. There you go. That's what's going on. God damn it.
Right. 1 week I'm in Mount Olympus and next week I'm in the fucking volcano. That's what's been going on here in Chirac. And still dodging bullets at this current moment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your weekly podcast of pleasure. Thank you for spending some time out your busy schedule, taking some time out of your schedule to listen to our nonsense. We recorded about around 70 to 80 minutes per week. It's kind of cool getting some feedback over the last couple of episodes. And you could check any of our previous episodes on iTunes or the YouTube channel, youtube.com. Just type in Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. You'll find all the episodes that we've done in the past, and especially some old radio interviews I did on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support us. Hit us up on social media. Let us know what you like or dislike about the show. We'd love to take any suggestions. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. And that's all I ask for you guys. For myself, bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com to catch up with all my play-by-play articles that I do on there. And that's pretty much it to plug. I mean, we're not selling merch, right?
No,
we don't have any. We don't have any Patreons to plug yet. No. I don't know if you guys would want us to do a Patreon. I don't know.
Sam and I got our T-shirts on What a Maneuver. Go buy a T-shirt so we can donate some money to a charity. That's our big thing with them shirts, man. We ain't trying. Well, actually, it's really just there's an inside joke that we'll get to maybe later on in the day. But go to whatamaneuver.com. Buy search Internet Heel. Sam and I came up with a design. It just says the Internet turned me heel. It's just supposed to be a cheap for sale sign, which is basically it's just supposed to be a knockoff of basically cheap Internet fans. That's why it looks like a cheap for sale sign. But that's supposed to be the inside joke, ladies and gentlemen. So, but yeah, go do that so that we can donate some money to Chester Bennington's charity.
There's going to be a lot of shenanigans and comedy and all points in between in this podcast this week, especially for you played yourself this week. I don't think we may have one wrestling submission for that segment alone this week with the nonsense that's going on right now.
Some may surprise you today, too.
Right. We're going to talk about Raw and SmackDown, of course, what's going on in that land. I'll keep you guys posted up with what's going on at NXT TakeOver Chicago. And I got a little announcement for a guest who's coming on our show next week. That's going to bring in a lot of fun and have some good vibes here on the podcast going forward. So I'll let you know who's coming to the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast next week towards the end of the show. And, of course, we'll talk about the Bank of Money. Yes. But I want to start off with this. Adam, you talk about the world being a stage, but I want to give credit to Shane Helms on this for what I'm going to say next. Social media is neither A, social, or B, media.
Yep.
If you look at in its fullest circle, this has nothing to do with wrestling. This is something like life and communication-wise that I wanted to bring up today. Social media is not social. If anything, it takes away from being social.
Agreed.
And B, it's provide a platform for people to act like they're in the media, but they're not. And media, it's kind of been going down the tubes of as far as credibility and what's media and what's not media. Hell, even sometimes you can't take your local news anchors seriously, or your writers, or your news. I don't even know if they even do newspapers anymore these days. Everything's going on the damn internet.
They do, because there's still people that are 80 years old in this country. No, listen, I knocked that, but I should.
Paper at the bingo halls.
No, listen, in my opinion, print media is so important. It is so important to me, and that's why I make the joke, but honestly, support your local newspapers, support your city newspapers. Don't just support, the national papers. I mean, I live here in Pittsburgh. I support any Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Post-Gazette, the Tribune Review. I mean, there's city papers that you really need to support in every city. So I joke, but I mean, at the same time, though, I graduated I graduated high school in the 1900s, so maybe I'm just an old man.
I'm bringing this up for a reason. There's a big epidemic of just soliloquies, diatribes, and this and that from all centers of life, from entertainment to politics to wrestling to sports. And, I'm going to save the stuff with Roseanne and all this stuff till you play yourself, because that's the point of that segment. But this is a bigger picture thing. I don't know where we go from here. And as a guy who went to broadcasting school, part of me feels like I can't distraught saying, "Oh, I'm part of the media," because people try to find ways to I don't know, either bring you down or try to question your credibility or whatever. I went to school. I did get a degree in broadcasting, but when I look at where we are right now, it's I found it funny when I was looking at the CM Punk trial case with the doctor, right? And it's like the judge is like, "Oh, here's Nick Hausman from WrestleZone covering the courtroom for part of the wrestling media." I read that yesterday, and I had the biggest laugh I may have had in the last 2 to 3 years. And even some of the shit you've heard from this show or other comedy specials or the Deadpool movie I saw last week, I had a big laugh out of that because, okay, let me get this right. We got a wrestling angle from a podcast in the courtroom with dirt sheets being credited as media in our judicial system in the Cook County ward in Chicago.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Welcome to 2018, baby. Listen, man. This is I can't say it enough. This is 30 years ago, and listen. It is, take it for what it's worth, and I understand that people don't. People weren't as socially aware, or some may have been, but I was made very socially aware by my grandparents, who I spent a lot of time with on both sides of my family, and they both had different values. So I got to see a lot of different variances. Our society's screwed up right now.
Yeah,
we have problems, and there's all of us. We all have a God complex. We all have social media has driven us. To your point about Shane Holmes, social media has done just that. Everybody thinks they are a part of the media. Everybody, I make no qualms or I'm very clear with the fact that, listen, guys, I'm a college dropout. It was either I was living out of my car, so it was either keep living out of my car and go to school, or work and not live out of your car anymore. So I chose to work, and the idea of just everything in today's society, just even on a Josh, there's a lot of, I get social anxiety, and we'll talk about mental health later on, but my social anxiety stems from a paranoia of impending doom, and that's something that we'll talk about. It's something that I do when it's a tie-in with later on when we talk about mental health at the end. But I don't get social anxiety per se, from other people. I actually really enjoy talking with other people, and it's funny because I've been having a conversation lately with some some people about how it's like people don't even wave to each other anymore. Which that like, if you can't even wave to somebody because and that's not, listen, if you claim to have social anxiety, I also, I get it. I don't say claim. If you feel you suffer from social anxiety, I totally understand. But it does not help that we can't just simply wave to somebody, wave to a stranger, just be like, hey, how's your day going? We can't even do that anymore in society. And that is very telling of where we're at. Like we're in a place where conflict is king, and nobody wants to actually be sociable. They want to be social, and that's two totally different things. Sociable is people actually want to hang around you. Just being social isn't. I mean, anybody can be social, and usually you end up being the one at the party nobody likes. And when you really look at Twitter, that's kind of what it is.
Right.
Or any social media, what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I want to steal line from Stephen A. Smith in this. I've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and just led astray with the clip I played last week for you. Played yourself in regards to the whole John Cena, Nikki Bella marriage, non-marriage, this and that, and that's why I'm bringing this up. It's like, in a way, like every media outlet, fair or not fair, has their agenda of what they want to push when it comes to certain stories, real life events, and just whatever floats the boat for that particular day or month. There's seasons. There's not just spring, fall, summer, winter. There's also seasons in media. There's seasons of what's the next big hit for television shows coming through the summer, movies, sports.
Sweeps months.
Sweeps months. there's seasons in media, and there is a formula and a blueprint you have to follow, especially if you're in like a print digital world, and it's very in-depth in how they structure the stories they want to cover throughout the year. It's very interesting. I remember watching the 13 Going on 30 movie with Jennifer Garner and just stuff like that. That's for example. So it's a little snippet, but I mean, the movie was going on. My sister was watching it. She likes those chick flicks. I'm not gonna blame her. That's her deal. So, anyways,
right. Just like I watch Mean Girls because somebody just wanted to watch it one day. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right. So
I don't have to watch it every time it's on.
So there's an agenda for what wants to be pushed. The E! Network runs Total Bellas. I was talking about this with Adam before we record today. They posted out a leak. See John Cena and Nikki Bella reunited for the first time at the breakup. Guess what it leads to? A clip for this upcoming week's Total Bella episode where you have John Cena running to Nikki Bella backstage at the Barclays Center at Raw 25 that happened in January. You know how we talk about clickbait culture and all this rudimentary nonsense? That's it in its purest form. So when I played the clip that I played from whatever show that was last week, and you have this pontification, this grandiose theory from this guy saying, it's impossible to frame John Cena and Nikki Bella breaking up out of anywhere just for the sake of ratings for Total Bellas. Well, what are we talking about here?
Well, and Josh, and listen, and I'm listening. And I do when when I listened back to it, I felt bad because I didn't obviously intend to have that reaction because I didn't. When I ever listen to your Yan Club stuff, I never know who you ever play. To be honest, unless it's somebody where it's the voice is recognizable because they were a former performer. You know what I mean? I just don't listen to podcasts. So to be honest, I never listened to any of the podcasts I was on. I know that sounds bad, but not enough time in my day, and I really don't give a shit about other people's opinions that much. And I think it was just, so I listening back, I apologize, whoever that was, I do apologize. That was just my reaction. That was just, and listen, my opinion's worth just as much as whoever that was, but I don't know. It's gonna be funny as hell. I wonder. In a way, I am curious of whoever the hell it was, but it's always better to keep it anonymous, at least for me. Josh, it's funny that for how much we fall for smoke and mirrors, there's still people that think that CM Punk's pipe bomb wasn't scripted. I mean, listen, it was a worked shoot. We understand. He was given wiggle room. We know the story, but there's still people that think that he went out there and just, and I'm using that, I'm using that as an example, because everybody says, oh, we blow CM Punk too much. I'm using that as an example of kind of knocking Punk down a little bit. It's not like he just grabbed the mic and went out there. I mean, there was a plan. There was absolutely a plan. There's always a plan. It's funny that we can have all these conspiracy theories all the time. I mean, down to that we have people are lizards, the earth is flat, and people believe all this nonsense. Yet it's hard to believe that a man and a woman that are both entertainers that might have struggling ratings, and maybe Nikki Bella, you have to finally build sympathy for her, and maybe it's about the princess finally having the princess storyline ending, whatever, however they wanted to paint it. Cena's the type of guy that would go all in on the character. He has before, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how it could be that unbelievable. They could have different filming schedules to where he was maybe out making a movie for a month or doing a press junket for pushing a movie or whatever, and they were gonna have distance because of that, and that's how you work it in. Doesn't mean you know what I mean? I mean, there are so many ways when you look at life that you could turn into a storyline if you really chose to. Reality TV, and it's, oh my God, we're falling we're falling for the circus. We're not going to the circus anymore to be entertained. We're going to the circus to believe it, and that's frightening.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Like when you watch any award show, and you have the red carpet, and you have like a Ryan Seacrest or anybody out there. That whole show is pushing agendas. You either have somebody who's on their network that has a show on there. You got somebody who's getting nominated for an award that night being interviewed. You have somebody who has a new movie coming out, right? Or presenters. Anybody that's behind the scenes or going to be part of the presentation of whatever you're presenting is going to be on that red carpet just popping up what the show is going to be. It's not this gathering of, oh, let's embrace everybody. Oh, it's so nice to see you. No, you're out to get your business out there. Well,
here's one for you, Josh. Money in the Bank's coming up pretty soon. When it comes around and you want to send somebody to Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert or, I guess they're NBC, so or whoever, Jimmy Kimmel, or, pick your late night show, whatever. When you want to send somebody, because that's what they do, these late night shows get people that are promoting things. Are you going to send Ronda Rousey, or are you going to send Alicia Fox? And that's not a slight on Alicia Fox, but what sense would it make sending Alicia Fox to promote something that she's not even a part of? You know what I mean? And meaning that she's not going to be on the show. So right now, if John Cena and Nikki Bella are literally trying to live the gimmick and they're selling their show, and it's not like they have kids. It's not like, their families are both in entertainment. It's not like the people around them wouldn't be in on it and get it. I just don't understand how it frightens me, and this is where, and I do mean that it frightens me in a way that we've devolved this much to say, I just can't believe an entertainer would take it that far. Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off a goddamn bat to show how metal he was, and because of the LSD. Mostly because of the LSD. But it was because he was trying to be the Prince of Darkness, man. I guess that's where, Josh, even with us, let's face it, we're just two guys that come on here to shoot the shit about wrestling, but we still try to be entertaining about it, or we try to be informative, or we try to, we try to show the good side of it rather than the bad side, or try to, at least on my end, and that's why I feel bad about, kind of just, exploding last week, is I do try to be more of, the devil's advocate for either side, typically, and I don't, there's too much polarization right now, and an extreme either side is not good for anybody. So, I don't know, man. I just think we're in a tough spot where we would rather argue online than wave and say, hey, how you doing to somebody. Right. And I guess it just goes back to that. I don't know.
We got NXT TakeOver Chicago coming up in a couple weeks on a Saturday, June 16, at the same arena, Allstate Arena. It's kind of the time of the month where you have a takeover, and I have to remind everybody, it's actually a good thing for the company to enjoy both shows during that weekend. We're not trying to make WCW out of the same company and still has the same production the night before and Money in the Bank. So, Chicago's getting a lot of spotlight this year, or at least this summer, with a lot of shows. And, we got TakeOver, we got Money in the Bank, we got All In coming up this summer. I'm very grateful for that. As a wrestling fan, I think that's very cool. I don't have tickets for All In, but I am all in for what these guys are doing and what they're promoting. I think it's very cool, and it's a show I'm totally looking forward to. Same thing goes for TakeOver. You have shows are either really good, great, and this and that. Sometimes I'm just indifferent to particular takeovers. I'm just one of those rare fans that I don't suck off every single thing about NXT. I watch. That's part of me watching the show each week, not just watching the takeovers. And I talked about this with Derek in the past. A lot of people's perspectives on NXT is skewed because they only watch the takeovers. Now, I understand there's so many times throughout the week where you can spend time and watch the shows, but it's like when I go on Twitter and I see like, oh, they build things better through NXT than they do on Raw. Did you actually watch the build before the takeover, or did you watch the video package that was made to show you what the actual build was?
Right.
So I'm not saying to not enjoy NXT or Money in the Bank. I'm saying enjoy both. I don't know why we have to make this a bitching contest on takeover weekends.
And I do.
That's what I'm bringing up.
I think, and I could be wrong on this, Josh. So please, correct me if because this is just my opinion. So correct me if you think my opinion might be off here. But to me, and I don't watch NXT on a weekly basis, guys. I don't. I'm lucky that I get Raw and SmackDown in, and that's no slight on WWE. It's just that I don't really get much TV in at all anymore. It's late at night when I do. So I actually think my daughter watches more Raw and SmackDown than I do now. But with that being said, I think that NXT is more short form theater, and WWE is long form theater. And we live in a society now where short form theater, 3-minute skits, YouTube clips, viral sensations, and I'm not saying it, but that's kind of what is big right now, because we have the attention span of a fly, you know what I mean, or whatever I guess you're supposed to put in there. I really don't know, but you know what I mean. But we're drug around in so many different directions. A lot of times, short form theater is easier for us to digest. We think that we get more out of it. We feel more satisfied, because we don't have the patience for that long term story. I think that's the main difference between what you see on Raw and SmackDown versus what you see on NXT. And I don't like to compare the two, because that's like comparing one Saturday Night Live skit to an entire half-hour episode of Broad City, or insert your favorite comedy show there. You know what I mean? Whatever show you watch. I don't know why Broad City came to mind to me, other than I think it's one of the best shows on TV. But you can't compare. Again, you can't compare the two. So I don't know, man. It's the need to want to complain, though, I think. And I don't mean to keep sounding cynical and being negative about that, but that's going to tie in a lot with what we talk about at the end once we talk about mental health. I feel like there's an unfortunate need for conflict in today's society that we have to kind of like step back and it's like figure out what the hell we're doing, and I think this is part of it. I think you have to be either Team NXT or Team WWE, and you can't appreciate both. Everything for some reason in the world right now, at least here in America, I don't want to speak for other countries. I'm only speaking for what I see around me in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the counties around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is like the Twilight Zone. It's nobody can find common ground. It has to be yes, no. Everything's yes, no, black, white. Yeah. There is no grays. There is no maybes. And I think that's why. Josh, I think that's why. I really do.
And to go full circle with the social media stuff I was bringing up earlier, not only there's an overconsumption of social media, but there's an overconsumption of black or white in tradition, in my opinion. Because I know people and families have their values and this and that and religious. I'm not super religious, but I'm not going to criticize people that are. I mean, do what you want to do, what makes you happy. But forcing upon opinions or beliefs is a problem that I won't stand for. Nobody should tell me how to feel about stuff. It's crazy, but it's like let's look at TakeOver really quick.
Real quick, Josh. Before we do that, I hate that I feel like I have to say this, but it's 2018, so we do. I hope everybody realizes out there when we talk black and white, we're not talking about ethnic backgrounds. We're talking about like when people say it's a black and white world. Some people believe in grays, meaning like the in between and the like. Yeah. I hope people get the actual analogy, because the sad part is, Josh, is in today's world we have to catch ourselves, like just even in that manner. So I knew what you were saying because I was saying it too, but to anybody out there, obviously we weren't talking about like ethnic and like skin color. We were talking about the goddamn metaphor and the phrase. Yeah. Go on, good sir.
Yeah, it's not it's not this way or the highway.
Now, thing. I may have been starting to sing the beginning of Lateralis, but that's a totally different story altogether.
Great album. Yes, sir.
Great reference.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a little look at the card so far. We got Nikki Cross against Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's title. You got Undisputed Era against Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, the UK tag team. I'm looking forward to that match. I'm an in-ring junkie, so matches like that be up my alley. We got Ricochet and Velveteen Dream. That's going to be going down in the show. John Cena actually said he'd like to fight Velveteen Dream in a match. I think that'd be a pretty cool program.
That was wild, man. To get a, you know, and I don't know what it's worth. I don't know. Listen, but I would think that getting that stamp of approval from Cena like that means something.
Right. I think he said something about wanting to fight EC3 too. Yeah,
yeah. Well, because he, you know, and that actually does make sense. And you know, he talked about EC3's trip. You know, how he left and came back, reinvented himself, and how, you know, because EC3 said he was going to take Cena out, basically.
Yeah.
And so I like that he said, you know, he would, but they gave him an option. It was Adam Cole, Dream, and I forget who else they put in like the three. Who was it? Ricochet. Oh, Ricochet. Yeah. It was Ricochet. Yeah. But yeah, he said the Dream out of everyone. That is wild.
I saw the picture of John Cena put EC3 on Instagram of the quote saying he's going to take him out.
Jeez, nice.
What else we got? Aleister Black's putting his NXT title on the line against Lars Sullivan. Aleister Black has barely been on any of these shows since he became the champion, which I find kind of weird. Like, they're going to do this one thing with him and Gargano for the title, and then Ciampa came out and attacked Gargano, and then Black's been just missing on television. But now Lars Sullivan will be fighting Aleister Black for the NXT title. And then we have Gargano and Ciampa in a Chicago street fight, which I find very apropos where this match is happening, where this whole feud started. So it's pretty cool.
It's cool, you know, and actually, it finally, this really fits the Chicago street fight moniker, you know. That's one they overuse a little bit, where it's like, it's a Chicago street fight, you know. But this one actually, it fits this. It fits this feud, you know. So this is one where this absolutely where when, you know, the cheesy gimmicky kind of like labels for matches, this is why we have them, because sometimes it does make sense.
I remember being at TakeOver last year and literally like sitting right there by the announce table where Ciampa did that crazy Death Valley driver thing off the table to the other table on the floor. It's and the "fuck you, Ciampa" chants towards the end at the end of the broadcast. It's crazy how this story has evolved over the years, because I've seen these guys perform in AAW shows at the Berwyn Eagles Club, then transcribing their matches at the Cruiserweight Classic, then to this TakeOver story, and now I don't even know if this is even the end of their feud, though. That's kind of the weird thing, though. Like, you have this TakeOver here. Do you add their Gargano champion feud at the TakeOver Brooklyn for SummerSlam? I don't know.
I don't know where you take. I mean, this is something you can always revisit. That's what's great about this feud, is that you'll always be able to go back to it. You know, it'll never truly end, because
it's like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Thank you. That's exactly where I was going with that. And you never know when they might go back on, you know, in the same team, and it might be Gargano that twist it. You know, I mean, I can't see him ever twisting it, because Ciampa is just a badass mofo. So, you know, but
Tommy Entertainment,
right? But and I think, you know what, from an NXT level though too, I think this is what they said. This is 4 years ago. The first NXT takeover happened, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Something like that. So I mean, that's a pretty big accomplishment too. Yeah, because the first actual takeover that was on the network. So I think that is another reason why. Remember how we were kind of questioning? Not that we were kind of questioning, but it was like, well, why do it before Money in the Bank? And you know, a couple weeks ago, this is even more of a reason. You know, it's showing the value of Money in the Bank. It's showing, hey, listen, 4 years ago, here's an anniversary of it. You know, I like that aspect of it. And the card I'll admit, I didn't even know what was on the card, but from what you told me, I like the card. So, it should be a good show.
Let's transition to Money in the Bank. By the way, before we move on, I do want to give a plug to my buddy Nick Giacobi that I met last year in Orlando. He has a podcast called Who Got Next, but he cites it N-E-X-T, so he doesn't get like any copyright issues or whatever. So it's Who Got N-E with the X-T, like how they type it out. It's kind of cool how he does it. So check out Nick does a show with his friend Phil Quintano. You guys may have heard him on Rant with Dan. So check out Who Got Next. This is strictly an NXT show. There's like a lot of shows that just go over the state of wrestling and this is stuff. But when you have like a podcast that just talks about like an NXT or just strictly Lucha Underground, I always like to check those type of shows out because it's something different. So go check out Nick's show. He does a good job with it. Anyways, let's go to Money in the Bank. Card's filling up towards that way too because we know who's going to be in the ladder matches now for both the men's and women. So we don't have any more qualifying matches. We have two more Raws, right? Before Money in the Bank, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. Yeah, and you know what? And I guess not to give anything away here, but so the advertising in Pittsburgh was a little off then because, Josh, I'll show my hand now because now that we have the said competitors, I'll admit, guys, past couple weeks I've been hinting it towards some things. I thought Baron Corbin was going to be the final. I just thought he was still getting in Money in the Bank somehow. I thought he was going to win it again and actually cash in and win this time. And my reasoning behind that was advertisements for Extreme Rules here in Pittsburgh were actually advertising AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Baron Corbin for the WWE Championship. So in my convoluted mind, I thought, okay, maybe they slipped out. This is a whole Las Vegas episode with Batista a couple years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
how 4 years comes full circle. You know what I mean? And I thought maybe they just accidentally leaked something out, and that Corbin was going to basically get the briefcase and cash in that night during the Last Man Standing match. I just thought in a way it would have made perfect sense for storyline wise. That's actually what I kept like. I don't want to say anything, but I was all playing coy about it. But that's kind of where I saw that going. I actually thought we were going to see Baron Corbin walk out of Money in the Bank with the WWE title, but he's not in it, Josh. So there goes my pick.
You never know. Maybe he lays out Finn Balor or somebody like that before.
Never know.
That's an idea, maybe. So Money in the Bank, we got Bobby Lashley against Sami Zayn. A little bit better this week than the Sisters, even though I did get some laughter out of it, even though people were having their panties up their drawers last week over that Sisters segment. We talked about that last week anyway. So Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn, that'll be a pretty good match, actually. I'm actually looking forward to that one. You got Asuka against Carmella. Carmella's doing her thing, man. She's killing it right now.
She's owning the character. Totally owning the character.
Speaking of women owning their characters and in-ring stuff, I want to give a shout-out to Mandy Rose because she killed it this past week on SmackDown with Asuka. That girl is very good in the ring. You may want to throw the Trish or stable comparisons at her and this and that. This girl can go. I don't know if she'll be out there as Trish as far as wrestler, but really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, who really gives a shit about that? But Mandy Rose, Mandy Rose doing a good job.
Why can't she be better than Trish? You know what I mean? Why do we always have to limit people? Why do we always? We're the ones that put the glass ceiling up. You know what I mean? No, nobody else. It's us. It's us that says they'll never be as good as The Rock. Well, you know what? Maybe
be a Stone Cold.
But don't you think that Trish Stratus, would love to see Mandy Rose because there are these comparisons? Don't you think that would be such almost like in a way a feather in Trish Stratus's cap to hear all these comparisons to this new up and comer that comes in and Mandy Rose ends up maybe accomplishing a little bit more? Wouldn't that be? I mean, in a way, you helped pave that road. I think we as fans, are more jealous than those that are in the business. It's a really odd thing. I don't like putting those ceilings on talent. Let's not do that as much.
Right, exactly. You got Asuka and Carmella. I don't know if they'll steal the show, but that's definitely a match I'm looking forward to.
Carmella's walking out of this match.
We got Ronda Rousey against Nia Jax for Raw Women's Championship. I saw a thing on Monday talking about, now Nia's supposedly back to being the heel. Nia's just being Nia. I don't know where people got that from.
Well, that's why we should have listened to the goddess. I mean, after all, look, Nia Jax is a bully after all.
Right.
No, listen, I get what they're doing, but there's a lot of sleight of hand going on here. I don't know. I feel I'm very intrigued by this match. I'm not going to lie, Josh. I think that there is something that this is one of the matches. I think that there's a lot of storyline angles that they could really spin out of this so many different ways. I'm very interested to see. I like that they are placing that doubt: is Nia Jax a heel? Is she starting to, or is it just for this particular feud? Is somebody going to interfere? Is somebody going to turn heel? Is somebody going to join with somebody? Is somebody, there's all these, and typically Occam's razor is the real answer, where it's probably Ronda Rousey wins, LOL. But
right.
Let's just say probably in like 15 seconds. But I think that there's so many possibilities. This is one that I'm really looking forward to, just to anticipate the finish,
Yeah. We got. Let's try to see what else. There's actually 8 matches announced so far. We got Roman and Jinder. I can't forget about that. Roman will probably be on the show Monday. I don't know where he was this past Monday. It's kind of thing where you don't need to have everybody on the show.
Memorial Day, baby. He took the day off.
Yeah, the big dog was off on Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm. It's not his yard on holidays.
The Modern Day Maharaja, though, was putting some good in-ring stuff with Seth Rollins for the IC title on Monday. I enjoyed that match a lot. So we'll see what happens with Roman and Jinder. Seeing Jinder win the title here last year, now he's going to fight Roman Reigns. I know people are going to crap on it. I already know when we're going to get to it, but which is going to be a shame because I think these two could actually have some good in-ring stuff with each other, but they're not going to get a chance.
This is the perfect city for this match. It really is. I mean, it's just because the amount of heat that Reigns gets in Chicago. Jinder. What do you expect the crowd response for Jinder to be like? He
pretty
got a
good
pop
because
last year.
Yeah, they were cheering for him during the match with Orton last year.
Weren't we all though? I mean, in fairness,
right. The funny thing about Reigns is that Chicago was cheering them when they've had the Shield Evolution match.
Yeah. It's and that's I think that was the Shield aspect of it. Not trying to be that guy, but you know what I mean. It was still we have to still look at them as they were like cohesive at that time.
I remember the one he had that last man standing match with Big Show.
Yeah. Yes, I'm interested to see how there's a lot of matches on this card that even if I know a lot of people are saying this one doesn't make sense, Jinder Mahal and Roman Reigns. This is why
how does it not make sense?
Well, I mean, this is why I'm kind of intrigued by this match too. What is the crowd going to be like? And not for nothing, guys. Like these two guys they're workhorses. Like they can go in the ring. Let's just get over it. Hey, everybody that you listen to on any podcast, whether it's Chris Jericho, whether it's Finn Balor, whether it's they talk about how great Roman Reigns is to not only work with in the ring, but to help game plan, all kinds of stuff. It just you hear them just talk about how great of a talent he is. Like when are we just going to get over it?
Yeah. He's
not my favorite or in my top 5 or even in somebody that I really pay that much attention to. But guys, he's a hell of an entertainer. And then that's the Roman Reigns rant of the week.
You got the Good Brothers against the Bludgeon Brothers for SmackDown Tag Team titles. All the brothers. We got. I'm going to add these two before we go to the Money in the Bank matches. Seth Rollins and Elias. I think that's going down for the IC title. And Andrade Almas against Jeff Hardy for the U.S. title.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good for. I don't know any rumor stuff, so don't hold me to that. This is something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know anything. But real quick though, did the Bludgeon Brothers say that they were gonna? Were they gonna bash them into how did they say they were gonna evaporate somebody or what was the exact?
They're gonna eviscerate.
didn't they say they were going to smash them down to like the molecular structure or something? They use some sort
of something right there. Yeah,
but it's a family show. I don't even know that you can't do that. Only on Faces of Death, and I'm certain most of that was fake anyway. I mean, this isn't CZW.
They do have mallets.
That's what I mean. I'm leaving the mallets alone for right now. I love Luke Harper too much to get on this gimmick at all.
I know you liked the picture I sent you last night with
Graves in the background. Yeah, it was awesome. It was so awesome.
Let's talk about the Money Bank matches. We've been kind of sprinkling our thoughts about the shows this week while just going over the card, kind of a little different than just going, oh, here's this segment on SmackDown, this is segment on Raw. Oh, where they're going to book Braun here. We don't have enough time today to do that stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, man, you got to get these words while you can. We're limited time.
Right.
I'm making that happen. Hashtag get these words for the Josh Lopez podcast. That's what it is. Hashtag get these words.
Get these words. Oh no, get these words trending worldwide, as The Rock would say.
Tight as worldwide.
So let's start off the men's match because give props to the ladies. I have no idea what match is closing out this show. Maybe the women closed out the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. That'd be cool. Maybe Ronda Rousey closed out the show. Maybe the best. I have absolutely no idea. Maybe AJ Styles and Nakamura closed out the match. They have a last man standing match on their show. It's up to the air. It's up in the air.
Ooh, man. There's 4 legitimate matches that really you can make a strong case for.
Right. Wow. So we got Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Bobby Roode, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe. Let's see who else I'm missing here on this list. I need 2 more. Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman.
New Day? Did you count New Day?
No, yeah, one person from New Day and Rusev. Yes. There you go. So that's 8 participants.
We do have 8 participants, but let me ask you just a very honest question, and I'm not trying to play facetious or I'm posing this question to kind of pique people's interest a little bit. Why can't all 3 members of New Day be in this match? It's no disqualification.
Right. Aiden English could be out there.
Aiden English could be out there, but I mean, wouldn't that be the reason why they haven't said who's in the match yet? You know, what if – I understand that somebody has to be an actual entrant to grab the briefcase, but is that even true after James Ellsworth last year? You know, because remember, the Ellsworth Money in the Bank briefcase thing with what they did with that – go ahead.
I committed blasphemy. I committed blasphemy. I forgot the Miz.
Oh, man.
That's blasphemy.
That is
Shut up, Lopez.
It's blasphemous. That is grounds for. I have a feeling somebody next week will have to have a talk with you about that.
Yes, absolutely. Damn it. Is there any way that this scenario where having all 3 guys could lead up to a breakup or some weird tension with these guys, or no?
Yeah, I would think so. So. I mean. But I don't want it to happen, though. You know, we've actually, and here's where I actually think. Speaking about you played yourself, we've been saying the New Day has jumped a shark for. I don't say we, not you or I, but when I say we, I typically mean like the internet bubble because that's how we're labeled. So that's how And if you listen to this, you're probably a part of that too. So it's, but we've kind of unfairly. I'm just speaking of being honest. But we've all kind of been waiting for New Day to break up. But I mean, in a way, they don't really ever have to, though. You know, I would almost rather them kind of ride it out. They could still have singles careers and still kind of be a faction. I mean, we always wait for the dramatic split just for the conflict, just for the drama. It would kind of be refreshing in a way if we finally had one that didn't end that way, you know?
Right.
And I do think because New Day is so unique in how they've been able to stay extremely relevant, entertaining. You know, every time we think, okay, it's probably time, it's not, and they show us even more why they're valuable to the company and why they're a valuable commodity together. I don't know. I mean, I hate to be this guy because this is the most bland answer ever, but this is where there is no black or white answer. Or I mean, there's no gray answer. This is very black and white. This is either Money in the Bank this is what causes the friction in New Day and they split, or New Day is just going to be New Day for a whole nother year. You know what I mean? I don't think this is going to be the test to see if the foundation is still strong.
It's going to be very interesting. I think all three guys, in their own way, have been just kicking ass. Whether in different pairings and matches, all three guys have something to bring to the table, no matter what divisions they're in. Xavier Woods has been on a massive roll, basically. Awesome. So anything's up to the limit for those guys. By the way, Kevin Owens again, just being the man on social media. So he deletes all his tweets. He's following nobody right now, which I think is awesome. His description says, "I got verified again so I could beg Shania Twain to play my favorite song When at her concert this summer in Montreal because I'll be there. I'm serious." He has a picture of him being laid out by Braun Strowman, and his cover picture is Triple H knocking out Kurt Angle.
I love Kevin Owens so much. Oh, that is gold. And see, that's where social media is done right. And that's where it pains me to see how much it does. It pains me to see how much vile behavior there is, because social media can be such a great tool. That is exactly what it was meant for.
Right. Exactly. Oh, Lord. All right, so let's get to the ladies' portion of the match. We got some. I won't say our predictions for a couple weeks for the men's Money in the Bank match, but there's a lot of angles that can spew off of this. Mm-hmm. Where the guys from different brands, so that's something I'm looking forward to in that match as well. And just the novelty of seeing Braun Strowman trying to grab the ladder. And I'll admit, Ball State Arena is not that big, so just to see him again in person and trying to scale, he may actually touch the scoreboard in that fucking arena.
Yeah, right. You know what? Let's play a quick game. We're gonna play a quick game here. Here's what I want you to do. For both Money in the Bank matches, the men's and the women's, I want you to pick one to be replaced and replace it with somebody. And not to be, obviously we're not doing this because we're anti anybody in the match or anything like that, but they do this every year for the Oscars, who got snubbed, who did this, and all these other stupid things that are whatever we all follow. And the draft day, that was whatever. We all watch other things where they do stuff like that. So you know what? Let's be that person, Josh. Let's be that team that does that. So here we go, Josh. For the women's match, replace somebody.
I'm going to replace Natalya with Ruby Riott.
Yeah, honestly, I actually, and I think, I personally think that there's a reason why Sasha's in here, and I get it. I would replace Sasha with Ruby. And it's not, it's because I actually think that there's still more tread on the tires between Bayley and Sasha, and I'm afraid they're going to use Money in the Bank to really have maybe Bayley do something here. But I almost would have rather have saw Ruby in there, because I don't know. I just felt like having the Riot Squad in this in some capacity was important. But I can also see the complications because New Day is in. Just like we were saying in the men's match, So right. I understand why they kind of went with
you wouldn't want that to overlap.
Correct. Well, because when they brought up Absolution and they formed Absolution, they formed the Riot Squad. That's all you heard was, it's the same thing on both sides, but different, whatever. Right. And I'm afraid you would hear the same thing. So I'm okay with how Money in the Bank's set up. But if I could, I would. I'd probably take Sasha out, because I think her and Bayley are telling a better story than what people realize, just because it's slow burning. You know what I mean? And for me, it's been very enjoyable, and I feel. I don't know. That's just me. But then again, I'm just a stupid internet mark. It doesn't really matter. But you know,
it's gonna be funny when Bayley knocks Sasha off the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of. I just didn't want to say it, but yeah, I think they put Sasha in just to have Bayley come out and cost her the briefcase, because that's what happened at Elimination Chamber.
Right.
In a way, right? So. Yeah. Wouldn't it be, here we go again, wouldn't it be apropos? Isn't there something about that where when Sasha was looking down at Bayley, you know, kind of waving at her, well, now Bayley can maybe, you know, do a run and climb the ladder, push Sasha off the ladder from on top and look down and kind of wave at her, you know, and whatever. So I get it, and I get that that's probably the payoff, but I don't know. I think the Riot Squad's been doing so much good work lately. I hate to see them being left off this pay-per-view, but that's just something.
For the men, I'm gonna replace Braun with Drew McIntyre.
Ooh, I like it. I want Braun in there, but I would actually replace Bobby Roode with. See, if they weren't really pushing McIntyre as a tag, you know, as a tag team with Ziggler right now, dude, I'd be all about that, because I've always been a McIntyre mark. No, you sold me on that. I'll take that.
You're all in?
I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm okay with that. You know, but mine would be I would replace. I would take Bobby Roode out. And put him in instead of Strowman. I think we need Strowman in there. We need the Strowman moment, baby.
Yeah, it's kind of cool with our flow together. Like, we could add in like some of the thoughts throughout the week of the shows while just looking at the next pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. That's cool. So we touched all about for Takeover, and we got to talk a little bit about Money in the Bank.
And you know what? And there's two things that I did want to talk. Well, actually, we already played the Elias clip. I thought that was great for Monday night, because I look for these little subtleties, guys. It's just little things that probably go, for whatever reason, might go over people's heads, but this is why I enjoy and appreciate wrestling. It's no secret that I talk about Corey Graves a lot on here, because I'm a huge mark for him, and I think he's one of the best talents they have right now, and I think he's highly valuable to that company. But that doesn't mean that, like, I can't laugh when people like. So anyway, what I'm getting at is, because I know there's a lot of people out there that they can't even laugh at their own, like, people that are a fan of this person or that person. If you can't make fun of them, because then it's like, you're making fun of my favorite person. Listen, I watch Raw and SmackDown for Corey Graves. I honestly do. He's it's Seth Rollins is my guy when it comes to, like, you know, in-ring stuff. But until Graves can get cleared again, I mean, Graves is still my guy when it comes to, like, you know, that's why I watch him. But when Tom Phillips said to him, hey, so did you get your hair cut off of Ryan Lochte? Brother, I laughed audibly, and, like, tears were coming out of my, like, eyes. Sam was like, "Why? What are you laughing at?" Like she didn't understand why I was laughing so hard, because she didn't get who Ryan Lochte was at first, and then once she finally realized that it was, you know. But it was just one of those moments that, like, it was such a great comeback for how much shit that Graves always gives people, and I fully support it, and we need more of it. Like, we talked about this before we went on. It's good to see, like, how there's such a good chemistry on SmackDown and on Raw now, where they're always busting each other's chops. And that was just so slyly placed by Phillips, where it was like, oh, that's so good. I mean, I was in tears laughing. So kudos, Tom Phillips. I still love you, Graves. And, yeah. So I don't want this to turn into, like, daily talk shit on Corey Graves. Like fucking anyway, that's not like anybody listens to the show, but, or at least for me, that's for damn sure. But, no, I don't know. I just thought little things like that, dude, are what make me watch the show every week. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need these gigantic payoffs. I don't need these, you know, sometimes it's just those little one-liners, man. It's perfect.
Right, and I like the part where Graves is like, shut up, not shut up, he's like, stop it, Saxton, when Saxton was trying to grill Carmella. And, right. And then, by the way, Graves is losing his stuff because he's like, oh, you're looking at God's greatest creation, and you have somebody hot like Carmella sitting right next to him, like, hello, the champ's here. And he's like, he goes out to outer space. I thought that was pretty funny, too.
The best was how upset he was getting when Carmella was like, get on the bandwagon. He's like, I started the damn bandwagon, or whatever he said. I thought that was good. You know, but even, it's funny, it's listen, "Shut up, Saxon" has become such a great catchphrase, and like I hope he keeps using it. But even my daughter picked up on it this week. That she was like, I caught him say "Shut up, Phillips" instead of "Shut up, Saxton," and it was like, yes, he did. Yep. He switched it up this week, so and that's the thing. I know Graves, I think, is a polarizing dude, but I don't know why, because I think he's. That's what I mean, man. When I say it's different for me when I watch these shows, and I don't know how many people that are listening to this show can really relate to this, but I always talk about when I. Listen, I love the spectacle of wrestling, but Bobby Heenan is what got me to love professional wrestling. Now, this isn't what's going to be for my daughter, but it amuses me when, and it's just, it's funny for me, and it's one of those, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, proud dad moments, where, just like that we always laugh about when my daughter's like talking about, somebody like a Corey Graves, like she finds him entertaining enough to recognize like his mannerisms and stuff like that, because that shows me that she's into the show for more than just, hey, who wins and loses? She's actually appreciating what's going on. So I like that feeling of knowing that my daughter's watching this because she's appreciating the art form and not just, hey, look, where it's I have a favorite team or a favorite person or a favorite whatever,
Right. Before we get into our mental health conversation, let's play a game of You Played Yourself, because it was going on this week in the pure sense of the phrase, you played
Holy
yourself.
Shit. Yeah, it was.
I'm going to start it off here. For anybody that thought they were getting anything out of the rap battles or the Enzo hit, I guess, his rap video, music video, trash nonsense that was, you played yourself big time. Especially for those who are marking out for the Drake Pusha T rap battle, you play yourself, because the best diss/rap battle, whatever you want to call it, is No Vaseline.
Well, listen, I don't know. Hit 'em up. Hit 'em up still, to me,
it's up there. I'm not saying anything for Pac.
but listen, but here's the thing though, like here's what I don't get, and again, we're going to talk about this at the end. We for some reason live for conflict so much. Why do we want rap beef when, like, I always think about this. It always ends in somebody getting shot. We lost Tupac. We lost Biggie. We lost Proof. We could keep going on and on and on. 50 got shot how many times over some stupid beef? Like, I mean, you keep going on and on. But we embrace it. We love it. We can't wait for it. We don't care, like, what happens to it. It's like, we're savages, man. We're savages. But why was Drake in fucking blackface, though, man? I'm not cool with that. What was that all about? I missed that. All I know is and I'm not gonna give this person the pleasure of saying their name because they're a media whore. But back when Sam was on a different show, we were kind of all sitting around, and somebody wanted to go out in blackface for Halloween because they wanted to be Deuce Staley. We were like, you should not do that. If there's one thing you should not, that is very unacceptable in public.
Right.
Especially when you're a goddamn nobody. You know what I mean? You don't walk around in blackface. Drake can't get away with it. I don't care who you are, you're not going to get away with it. Aubrey needs to settle down. He needs to get back in his wheelchair on Degrassi and maybe get back to basics. I don't know. Listen, the Enzo thing.
Back to my childhood.
Listen, you know what? Here's what I'm actually going to say about the only thing I'm going to say about the Enzo thing. Enzo's actually playing himself. And here's what I'm going to say that people can take it or leave it or whatever. I actually strangely think that Enzo could be a decent entertainer because there is such a thing as typecasting. And he, I feel, could get typecast. And listen, there's people that, like Danny Trejo, it's made a career out of being typecasted. I just fear that Enzo is so full of his own bullshit that he's playing himself. If he would just... He is so full of his own shit, man. In a way, we all are. I understand that. But that video was vile. And it shows how fucking much of a cruddy human being he is. And why he shouldn't be represented in WWE. And trust me, we don't... And that's why I feel as though, again, we let conflict and ego take over instead of somebody stepping in and saying, yo, I know a lot of people aren't going to... And I can't believe I'm saying this, dude. I do think Enzo could actually could make a living in entertainment. I absolutely do. Because he's just a charismatic guy that, like, you know, that can connect with people. but you can't believe your own bullshit that much. That's
right.
You're not the reincarnation of Tupac. Slow your fucking white ass fucking cracker roll.
Brother, who do you have for you played yourself this week?
All right. Listen, here's another. Here's gonna be one. It's a twofold one, and I know this is polarizing, but again, you guys are not gonna. You're not gonna believe what's about to come out of my mouth. For anybody that cheered, applauded, doesn't think, listen, just like everything else, this Roseanne getting canceled, I feel there's more to this story than just, her getting canceled. I think we're all, like, anybody that's cheering somebody's show getting canceled because of a tweet. Now, there's more to it than that. You're playing yourself, just because the moment it happened, I said to my wife, this is step one, because there's gonna be a thing where, well, they're coming after Roseanne, now let's go after who are they gonna go. There's gonna be targets in the media. So if you're out there, and what Roseanne said was vile, it was vulgar, she's a piece of shit. There's no two ways about it. Women can be pieces of shit too. So can men. I'm a feminist, so I believe that men and women are equal. And it's just, she has shitty opinions. Let's say that. But I also get concerned when, there's full censorship, because, Josh, a lot of times people cry about these false flags, but we live in a world so twisted now, man, that you could almost talk me into believing that Roseanne did this intentionally just to get canceled, just so they could start taking out their quote-unquote liberal comedians that go after the government and Donald Trump and all those fucking alt-right fucking people. That sound, and how convoluted does that sound? But in 2018, that's an actual possibility. You know what I mean? Like, that's how weird this world is. But I would never applaud anybody over getting their show. I mean, I think that she's a piece of shit. But on the flip side of it, though, this is why I think she wanted this, is she played herself too, because listen, from somebody that she has a history of battling mental health. I have a history of battling mental health. She has had a history of battling with prescription drugs. So have I. Listen, I've never taken Ambien, but I'm pretty sure a side effect isn't racism. I have had a lot of side effects from a lot of medications. I'm pretty sure that racism was never a side effect of anything I've taken, to the point to where Ambien had to release a statement, or the makers of Ambien had to release a statement saying, well, we have side effects, but not racism. So I think everyone in the world right now is playing themselves with this Roseanne situation. But I'll admit, Josh, there's part of me where it's worrisome from a free speech standpoint. I think, listen, but by the same, on the other side of the same coin, or since the earth is flat, on the other side of the earth, if you want to look at it that way.
Oh, God.
If I tweeted the same thing, I would get fired from my job. So why should she be any different? So right. I mean, that's something else that we need to kind of keep in mind too. So I don't know. That's neither here nor there. It's not like she said it on a show in a comedy moment. She was replying to somebody on Twitter, and that makes it more like a statement than a joke. And I think that's the problem. But in the end, I think everybody's kind of playing themselves with this. And in the end, we're going to realize that it was all a publicity stunt, and we're all being fooled. Just like everything about this country is a big publicity stunt now. It's exhaustive.
Jeez. How about this one? Brian Colangelo, the famed basketball Colangelo family, supposedly has a burner account basically exposing medical information about players in the organization. His thoughts on certain players have been either hits or busts. Talking about star Joel Embiid. Even has different burner accounts where he even responds to somebody criticizing his outfit and pointing out that his color was wrong than what the person was trashing him for. So now this is not a new concept. Actually, front office executives in sports actually do have fake accounts just to see what people talk about, but they do not tweet. But now this is a case where he actually did get caught. So Brian Canangelo, you played yourself. That's insane.
What's funny is like I don't even and I don't know, this is I guess what makes me laugh, dude. I don't even have the give a shit in me to like come up with a burner account and just to like spy on people. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. I could I'm so just I could care less about what anybody like thinks or whatever. It amuses me to hear stories like this. It really does.
Right. And for me, like, I played myself this week.
Yeah.
Instead of complaining about Warriors and Cavs for the fourth fucking time, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just not going to watch. I didn't care about the first one. I didn't watch the last two, and I'm not going to watch the third one. So for me, I played myself this weekend thinking that we're going to have a different NBA Finals, but no.
I'm not like that. Like, okay, so nobody at home can see that as I'm wearing a Golden State Warriors jersey. But no, I support the Bay Area. As a Raider fan, what's good for the Bay Area is good for the Raiders still for a couple of years. But so it's been 4 straight years. This has been the finals. Yo, who's writing for them, man? Because I think right now when you listen to the fans, especially like on Twitter, I mean. They're over it, and I think they want somebody else. They're dying for, they're a new up-and-comer. I mean, I don't know what team, insert a team there, but I'm just really trying to make this into a wrestling conversation because, we complain about it in wrestling, but look, it happens in real life, guys. It does. It has in history, too. Open a fucking book. Open a book. This is the 60s Lakers and Celtics all over again. We're going to look back at history and beg for teams that are this dominant. I mean, it's sometimes dynasties are a good thing because it makes you realize that you need to somehow that changes need to be made in that sport or in that organization, not organization, but in that league. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't necessarily look at it as a bad thing. Although I don't watch basketball, so I just I haven't in a long time.
Any other submissions for this week? By the way, I wanted to bring this up. What was the thing you were talking about with Trump and Jay-Z?
I guess after the whole Roseanne thing, he was going after because he still loves talking about last election. But yet it always blames other people for talking about the last election. So it's, what came first, the orange chicken or the orange egg. But
the thing is orange.
Yeah, it's orange. We know that. But he was just trying to use that Hillary Clinton. I don't even know if I guess she used Jay-Z at a concert or for one of her. I don't know, when she was really she was getting desperate for votes, so she was having free concerts and stuff like that. When it was getting, the writing was on the wall for this chick. She knew she wasn't going to win this. I don't care what anybody says. She knew she wasn't going to win this election. She was the worst candidate in fucking human history. Worst campaign, I should say. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But you can't go on a black radio station and they say, "Oh, what do you keep in your purse? Hot sauce?" No, you don't. You fake bitch. No, you don't. No, you don't. So, and on the flip side of it, I think people saw right through the fact that hey, look, here's a free Jay-Z concert. Now vote for me. But what Trump was saying was Jay-Z's vulgar language, all blah 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 blah. Okay, well, you know what, my man? You have Ted Nugent goes on Fox News, and Ted Nugent talked about sticking a gun up Hillary Clinton's pussy and pulling the trigger on stage. He talked about shooting Barack Obama. I mean, so we all need to kind of pump our brakes with some shit and realize that companies are allowed to do what they want to do and stop thinking that we, the people, run We're so worried about running everything but our own lives in our own country. And instead of realizing the president works for us, we don't worship him. He works for us.
Correct.
It's a weird time, man. It's a weird time. I don't understand it, man.
So Aubrey, Enzo, Brian Canangelo, ABC, and the man who won't leave his parents' house in Buffalo. You all played yourself.
And listen to ABC's defense too. I mean, they've.
I always say they played themselves because they should have known this was coming.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Sam and I have been talking about. That the show never should have got brought back to begin with. And they, I mean, they should have. And I'm not saying, I don't mean it that way, because it was so successful. She was getting great ratings. I don't mean it. It was connecting with a lot of people. But when you deal with such a wild card, and when you deal with somebody that lives in conspiracy theories and is online peddling conspiracy theories, that there's underground child sex trafficking rings in a pizza shop in Washington, D.C. that doesn't even have a basement. Now you sound like Pee Wee Herman in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he's looking for the Alamo, and there's no basement to the Alamo. You're no different. Like, I had people tell me, like, a couple years ago, like, yo, I'm telling you, man, I know, I've heard that she's involved with sex trafficking. We're starved we're starved for drama so much. Again, we're going to talk about this when we talk about the mental health stuff. We turned basically everything. But I do think ABC in some direction did kind of play themselves, but they were stuck between a rock and a hard place with this one. I mean, it's getting. I just don't understand, Josh, how they can act like this is such a big deal, but Colin Kaepernick just takes a knee, and yet the president of the United States can say basically everybody stop watching football. Or everybody stop watching basketball. Or Kathy Griffin was investigated by the FBI for 10 fucking months. Had her career basically wiped away for an entire year. Almost had it totally crumbled. I mean, they act like these people aren't, other people aren't punished. They absolutely are. Roseanne's just being made out to be a martyr. So what I mean is that everybody is playing themselves with this one. And I hope that this just is a passing thing and it's gone next week. I really do. Otherwise, it's going to get real dicey, Josh, with what gets, and my fear, and like it or not, I am a very big supporter of free speech, because I feel as though, regardless of whether I agree or disagree with you, we should all have the right to say whatever the hell we want within reason, but we also have to understand that there are consequences on the other end of it.
Right. Let's transition into the mental health stuff, because we're starved for exposés, we're starved for deaths, we're starved for, like you just mentioned there, drama too. Mm-hmm. And it's not good for the soul.
No.
It's not good for your conscience.
No, and
it's not even good for your sanity.
And in a way, it's kind of segueing off of Roseanne into the mental health thing. That's why I give Wanda Sykes so much credit for working on that show. Because she did say, there's no good extreme left, extreme right is no good for anybody. So for her to reach out that olive branch and really help write that show, and twice a week or whatever she was doing, that shows that there's people out there, man, that really want to build this bridge. There's people that don't want to live in conflict. However, the mental health aspect of things, dude, this is I think, since we're wrapping up Mental Health Awareness Month, it's the 31st. We're going to start Pride Month tomorrow. So, we're at the very end, we'll give something about that. But I think that, Josh, the biggest thing for me, just observing society as I do, because I'm a dude that I observe a lot. The biggest problem is that we all strive for conflict because, and this is where I want to tie social media into it. Social media has made us all feel as though we're our own celebrities, and we all can become a celebrity just by that one viral hope of a hit or this or that. And that I truly believe that's what's causing. And it's not just a younger demographic anymore either. Now the older demographic is getting involved with it. There is no age, there is no ethnic background, there's no gender, there's no. I mean, it's everybody. Everybody in the world right now wants two things: attention and conflict. And those two things together make for a very unhealthy society.
Right. The last thing I wanted to mention for mental health this week is that, again, make sure you take time to talk to somebody and see what's going through their mind and how you can help them through some stuff. It's even if it's the smallest issue in the world, if you could lend some advice to somebody, I think it can really help along the way, instead of just ignoring it and just brushing it off. It's You like, it's like the common thing. Oh, just brush it off. You're trying to feel sorry for yourself and this, that. No, this, like, be there for somebody. Actually put words to your mouth. I always get the kick out of line. I always be there for you. Just freaking prove it. Don't tell me that you'll be there for me, and then when I'm feeling down, you're just adding to the issue instead of actually helping me learn from this issue. Then
No, dude, you're absolutely right, and that's why I hope that everybody out there has watched or plans on watching Mauro Ranallo's Bipolar Rock and Roller, because it was very well done. It was, I thought it was, and I know that I just, because I've followed Mauro now for quite some time and have really been in his corner with everything, and just, it was absolutely a tough watch. It was, and I don't want to give anything away, Josh, because I know you haven't seen it yet. I know you're going to kind of take a look at it today, or, tonight sometime. And, but anybody out there, and I guess we'll save this, the conversation for this, maybe, for another time, but, there is a lot of, it was great. I hope it helps people. I hope it educates people. I hope people don't watch this and just take it and just run with it and I really hope that people hear what Mauro is saying. They can listen, but they might not hear him. It goes back to the old white man can't jump thing, right? You listen to Jimmy, but you can't hear Jimmy.
Right.
I want people to really hear Mauro, because his words struck so true, and it was very well done. And I know he wouldn't want to say that, want anybody saying this, but it was a very brave thing that he did. And I love the fact that he is also brave enough to stand up for medicinal marijuana and say it saved my life, because it saved mine. And I'm an open book about that. So I highly recommend you guys check it out. You please plan on it. Take time out of your day. Mental health is something that we really need. The reason why I kept talking about conflict, Josh, is I kind of grew up around conflict, and I grew up around chaos, and I don't know. I took psychology, so that doesn't mean shit either. So I don't fucking sound like that's anything, but a lot of things when you're in a situation, growing up around certain things, things can become. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Once it's an occurrence, twice it's a habit, 3 it's normalcy. When something becomes normalcy, when you're used to fighting, when you're used to conflict, when you're used to seeing conflict, when you're used to it becomes normalcy. And dude, I realized that, the stage of my game in my life, I've been, and this is no fault of anybody in my life. It's, listen, they were dealing with things their own way. I feel like there's an entire generation that forgot that when they were parents that it wasn't good to have conflict around children. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of our generation grew up thinking that conflict is okay. And listen, conflict is absolutely okay. We need it to advance. But constant conflict isn't. And what I mean by that is, dude, I sometimes I find myself like fucking Ricky Bobby's dad when shit is too good and everything's going my way and everything's great with the family, everything's great when stuff like the roses seem like they're smelling a little too good. I'm waiting for okay, so things feel a little bit too good right now. I'm like Ricky Bobby's dad in the Applebee scene where he's like, all right, gotta get the fuck out of here. Gotta totally ruin everything, I think there's a lot. I think that's what really is one of the main problems right now. I think that we all thrive on conflict because we all want to be right. There's a sick need to be argumentative and to prove people wrong. And I don't know. There's not enough meeting in the middle. There's not enough conversation. People want conflict. People want that. And I think that from somebody that's just honestly tired of fighting, to the point where I just don't really give a shit. And when I say that, I mean, I'm tired of fighting with myself too. And fighting with what I feel I should and the person that I should be, and struggle with not being that person every day. I think that one of the biggest things, one of the biggest takeaways is, anybody dealing with mental health, A, learn how to let things go. B, don't fight yourself. 3, did I say 1B3? I hope I did. 3, 3. Well, that should be 13, and we always have a plan B. And then 3, listen, conflict is not good, and that's why I ducked out of social media. You know, conflict is it's so unhealthy, and it's becoming normalcy. We're okay with having this two extremes of it's either this side or that side. There can never be anybody in the middle, and that's not good. You know, and that's just it's an unfortunate place that we're at, and you know, we need to rectify it. We could be the generation that changes all this bullshit. All we got to do is plug out and tune out for a little bit, you know. So, but I do feel that plays because listen, it's a trigger for me, man. I hate conflict. I hate it because it instantly takes me back to pain points in my past that trigger emotions and trigger things that, and then that sends that and my anxiety then triggers everything else, and then it's a downward spiral. So, you know, guys, I think that the reason why I bash the internet so much and I bash this, that, and the other thing, it's not to just bash. It's to kind of try and be Uncle Adam here and slap some people around and say, hey, wake up. You know, you don't realize. I remember what being a wrestling fan before the internet was like. And it was fun because you could just argue with your buddies, have a couple beers or Pepsis, whichever. And then you laughed about it and you went home because it wasn't this vile popularity contest of trying to. It's just a shame, you know. So, and that's why I tell people, like, I reach out to people and say, listen, you know, and I've reached out to people and say, listen, don't take this the wrong way, but it's, you know, I'm just not in it for. I'm not in anything for conflict anymore. So just. You know, I've removed people from my life just because I don't want it. If you're going to bring conflict to my door, or if you're gonna turn a blind eye when people are bringing conflict to my door and you're not going to get my back, I don't have any time. I'm not asking for people to like defend me, but we live in a messed up society when everybody is okay with people talking about everybody instead of just being like, you know, like, listen, and Josh, you know, I disagree with a lot of what Vince Russo says. I still don't agree with some of the criticism he gets. And I believe that for a lot of people that are out there, you know. Do they ask for it? Absolutely. You know, do they deserve it? I don't know. I don't know. I think sometimes it's misguided, you know. And the Roseanne situation is one of those situations where I think this is a point where this is going to be a make or break right now, where a lot of people are, I don't know. I really think that we need to tune out of conflict and start to appreciate intelligent, healthy, constructive conversation again, because intelligence and the ability to change your own beliefs, not change your beliefs, but compromise for a greater good is something that we've lost, because compromising isn't giving up your beliefs. It's just it's a compromise. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I feel like we're just in such a polarized state that we're never going to get back to that. And I just, you know, and I know I'm sitting here waxing poetic, guys, but you have to understand, you know, I got a little 8-year-old that is the most beautiful, wonderful thing in the world. And, you know, I can already see in her, she's in 2nd grade, they talk politics, and it's like they shouldn't. All I cared about when I was in 2nd grade was how many Gary Carter baseball cards I had. And I mean, that's really all I cared about. Legit, that's all I cared about. Like, I would have traded away any card I had for whatever Gary Carter card you had. I didn't care. So yes, I have been this eccentric and obsessive my entire life. See, it's a thing, guys. But I do think that stepping back from the conflict and you know, if you catch things bringing you down, man, it's time to kind of step away a little bit. But that's you know, I don't know. It's that's just kind of. That's kind of where I'm at, Josh. I mean, what do you think about that, though, man? I mean, do you think that, you know, conflict, because conflict, a certain amount of conflict can be good, I think, right? Or where? What's your feeling on this, man?
I just think there's, for me, like I'm tired of, like you said, fighting myself. I'm tired of finding reasons as to why we're having conflict. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of over having to justify my points of views to people because it shouldn't matter, and I'm kind of tired of allowing those extreme those people like affect my way of thinking too in the process too. Like, conflict is conflict, and I don't want to make it seem simple or whatever. Like, a lot of it is self-done. Mm-hmm. In a way, whether you're in the right or the wrong. You could have found a way to separate for yourself from that person before the conflict even reached its boiling point. I think people that don't have a filter need to actually think before they speak, because you can rattle stuff off, you could be pissed off, you could be whatever the situation provides itself. Yeah, you could be in that zone, but you don't know how that can affect another person. And whether you're right or wrong in that's just another issue itself. I think too many times conflict is self-afflicted than just the way of life. And I don't need people to feel sorry for me. I don't. That's why I kind of feel. That's why I have a lot of respect for Mauro Ranallo, because he's not looking for handouts for people to feel sorry for him. He's doing this to have his story out so people can spark conversation and stop having their head up their ass because they feel like the whole world's going to end the next day. That's my issue. I'm tired of the doom and gloom thing. You know why we have conflict? Because we don't have the ability to talk things out as human beings,
right.
And we have to go to the worst exterior of life to be. Oh, okay, this is it. This is what it's going to be. Oh, I suck. My life sucks. I'm horrible. I'm this. I'm that, and it could be prevented only if you do it along the way.
And here's a tweet from Samoa Joe from back in April, on April 22nd, and just with everything that's going on current event wise, tell me if this ties into anything. He put every morning I wake up with my social media rife with, and I think it meant ripe with hate, racism, etc. I can only shake my head when I realize at some point you're going to have to explain those statements to people in your life that actually care. That's one of the, and still right now that's been my favorite tweet all year long. And because there's nothing more real than that statement right there. You want to talk about a real one? That's the real one right there. That is that. It couldn't have been said any better. And just look at Roseanne's show. And again, I'm not. But eventually, we were, as a society, there's a breaking point, man. And I just think that. But again, Josh, I think it's at some point too we have to start to understand that there has to be better understanding of people too, because I'm very well aware that as I get older, I'm sure that my daughter's generation isn't going to like the fact that I use the term midget. Because people, people today frown upon that, and I know that, and I know, guys, it's not a good term to use. I guess that's my albatross. Everybody has one. I just think little person is so demeaning, and I just think that's bad. I am a little person. I'm like 5'8", 150 pounds. I'm little. I mean that's and I feel like it's I'm a tiny person, but no, not like that. Jesus Christ, that's going to get twisted too, but. I don't know, man. I do think that we have to realize that, like, sometimes I'm not talking about what Roseanne said, because what she said was just fucking repulsive, and it's not the first time she said it, and that's neither here nor there. But I do think that sometimes people are misunderstood, and we live in such a high tension society. We instantly have to take that one thing and be like, well, they said this, and I don't know. I don't know, man. I do think that there's a lot of people that don't really realize. What I don't know. It's.
By the way, when I was in second grade, me and my friends were joking around about John Cena slapping Kurt Angle in the face. That's what I was talking about in second grade.
Yeah,
not the preparation for the Iraqi war.
Second grade, I was telling people how. So I would have been 8. Yeah, I would have been telling people how. Great Bobby Heenan is probably, and how I hated Hulk Hogan. That was because that was a very serious thing around that age. And that was, and I would be telling everybody how Bo Jackson was going to end up being the greatest football player that ever touched the field.
Yeah.
The tears I shed 2 years later. Go on, good sir.
Before we head out, what do you want to mention about Pride Month before we call it off for the day?
No, you know what, man? I think now that we're going into Pride Month tomorrow, listen, I just think that it's a great way. We're heading out of mental health awareness. It's something that I strongly champion. It's something that I plan on getting more involved with now that I know that I can speak about not only my own personal experiences, but just speak about my own personal experiences. I mean, I was kind of muzzled for a minute, and I kind of want to get more socially involved in that. I might actually get more proactive with that stuff. But I do think the LGBT community as well is something that we need to start championing more. There's still stigma attached to that because of still, and I don't want to say backwards thinking. It's just, we just have a fear of the unknown in this country, and that ties into mental health as well. People get anxious, and I'm not saying, and it's weird to get anxious around another human being for any reason, whether it's, the color of their skin, preferred sexuality, anything. It just, I've never felt uncomfortable next to somebody for other than how they've treated me, and I think that this month especially, let's stop with the stupid bullshit. When Finn Balor comes out with the Pride shirt on, hold your bullshit. Hold your bull. I don't. And on the flip side of it too, I don't think. And here I go again defending, the other side of the coin. Guys like Vince Russo, I don't think everyone's saying that he's homophobic or this or that because of a statement that he made on. I did catch something of that. I don't necessarily think that's true. I just think that there's. People take words and they twist them however they want them. I don't know, man. I want this month should be about just if for some reason it's a lifestyle or whatever that you disagree with because you're not familiar or whatever, just kind of shut your mouth for a month. You know what I mean? Like the rest of us have to. Just shut up.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, well, and we'll be celebrating Pride Month all month, so we'll talk about that. But realistically, Josh, what I really want to end the show with, I guess it's safe to say, and I'm just sprinkling it in there, I will see you in Chicago for Money in the Bank, my friend. The Clown Prince, Lady Nexus, and we have a couple other surprise guests that are coming out for Money in the Bank, so we will see you in Chicago on Father's Day.
Wonderful, yes!
It's going to be an interesting one.
It's interesting, but yes, the dailies are making their trek to the city of Wynn. Shout out to Broken Bat. That's awesome.
It's going to be my daughter's first wrestling event, so it's going to be. We're the crew we're going to have our own riot squad. So it's the daily crew that's coming out is going to be an interesting one. So Chicago, get ready. Not the dailies you're used to, but. Maybe I think like 6 or 7 branches on the tree somewhere. So,
I'm very excited. This is on Overdale. I'm very excited.
It's gonna be a blast, man. It's gonna be a blast. I'm looking forward to it.
I want to mention this though. I forgot this when we did. You played yourself earlier. Spin off what we talked about last week, the My Truth movement and the Flat Earth movement. You played yourself just in general. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Go ahead.
And we'll end on another positive note too. Listen, for all the dumb stuff that people want to talk about all the time, listen, there's funny stories like the dude that was living with his parents at 30 and they had to evict him because of whatever. To me, that's funny news and that's great news. And I think that's stuff that we should be talking about more versus fucking Roseanne and Trump and all this other bullshit that's going on and who cares. This is a story I think is not going to get enough attention and it should. Jermaine Gresham, tight end. Was I don't know if you guys read a story. Go check it out. Google it, Bing it, whatever the hell search engine you use. But Jermaine Gresham was on a plane. This woman, and I don't know what airline it was. I really don't care. But they were going to force her to pay a bag fee. She didn't know there was a bag fee. Long story short, a gentleman just walked up, said, "No, here, I'll pay it for you. I got it." And then she kept trying to pay him, on the plane. She kept trying to give him money because they don't take cash. I guess that you have to pay with a card, with a credit card or some sort of whatever. And he wouldn't take the money, and then she didn't know who he was. And then finally, she realized that it was Jermaine Gresham, NFL football player, tight end. And it's just one of those moments that there are still really good people in the world, man. There's still good deeds that are done every day. And I truly believe that there is a pay it forward mentality. And I believe that because that's how the people I surround myself with, that's the MO that they live with. And, I'm starting to see it play out in my life in 2018 because I've had a very, so far this has been a very good year for the daily household here. So, and it's just simply, we just started cutting the bullshit out of our lives, man, and focused on ourselves and didn't worry about all the riffraff that comes along, So, listen, I think it's a great thing what Jermaine Gresham did. That's the kind of news that we should always be talking about. That's the kind of stuff that we should always be doing. Listen, I know not everybody has that kind of money and stuff like that, but it's just sometimes the smallest thing can not only make a person's day, but it's infectious, and then it really brings up. There's a vibe that it just sends out. So we need to start talk. It's all about that positivity stuff, guys. Come on with it. Still my rise.
We're spending
You're not Tupac.
You look at Twitter today. It's hashtag National Smile Day. So don't be a Grinch today.
There you go. Look at that. That's you're in. See, I don't even want to use that gimmick anymore. I was going to say something, but I don't want to use that. The Clown Prince knows without even knowing.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 108 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. You can check out our shows on YouTube, youtube.com/Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review or a rating. Let us know what you think about the show. Hit me up at Twitter and Instagram at Notorious Joshy. Same thing goes for the Clown Prince at Twitter at AdamDaily13. You know, let's send some good vibes. Let's send some good vibes to Miss Sam Daly. Follow her at Twitter at LadyNext13 as well. Send some good vibes her way. And thank you guys so much for checking out the podcast. We had a lot of fun. And next week, it's the return of the Director of Operations.
That asshole? Oh, no!
The one and only Brother Carter, Derek Stoughton, makes his actual debut on the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast.
Shut up, Lopez!
For the Clown Prince, I'm the Notorious One. Talk to you next week, motherfuckers.